Hello students, let's go ahead and open up Blender. Alright, just click on the splash interface and that gets rid of it. Now I want you to click on that cube and hit delete and get rid of it, okay? And add a mesh monkey. Alright, this is Suzanne. Okay, so I want to show you, remember, I just want to review some things. The reason why we're doing the monkey is so that you can see where you're at in space. Remember, if you hit the 1 on your number pad, it takes you to the front view. Control 1 takes you to the back view. 3 takes you to her left ear. Control 3 takes you to her right ear. 7 takes you to the top of her head. Control 7 takes you to her chin. All right? So hit 1 and bring it back to the front. Now, over here, if you hover your cursor over this, it says use a preset viewpoint, and you can drag and rotate the view. So what it means is bring your cursor over to it, and you have some options. You can click on the Z, and that's going to take you to the top view. You could click the Z again, and it'll take you to the bottom view. You can click on the Y, and it will take you to the back view. Click on the Y again and it takes you to the front view. Click on the X and it takes you to the side view. Click the X again and it will take you to the other side view. So this is another way, if you're not liking those shortcuts that you can get around, there's an additional thing you can do. I'm going to hit 1 because I like my shortcuts. Bring it to the front view again. And if you, instead of clicking on one of these, just click and hold, and now move your mouse around. Boom, that gives you that middle mouse button pan. Okay, so you can let that go and hold down your middle mouse button, and it does the same thing when you hold your middle mouse button down and move your mouse around. Okay, very cool that they've created that. And then there's another thing I want to show you, and it's this hand, right? If you have your cursor over, it says move the view. I'm going to hit 1 just because I want to bring it back to my orthographic front view. And I want to show you, last time I was trying to tell you that if I were to hold down shift and scroll, it should pan. But when I make a video, it won't work. And I think there was a shortcut like shift 4. No, that's rotating, and that's not working. Was it Control 4? Yeah. So Control 4 and 6 were my shortcuts for panning left and right, and then Control 8 and 2 were allowing me to pan up and down. Okay. Same thing if you hold down shift and use your scroll button. I'm going to hit 1 and come back to my orthographic view here. So this little guy right here, the move the view, is going to do the same thing. The trick is to click and hold. Click and hold, and look at me. I can pan up and down. If I hold down, let's see if I hold down Control. Nope, it's not going to isolate my movement for me. Maybe it will if I hit Y. Nope, it's just going to allow me to pan left and right and up and down and all around, okay? Which is fantastic. You know how hard it is to try to get centered right into the right spot. You can change your view to top view, hold that down, and you can now move it around that way. So this is a fantastic tool. Practice it. All right. Oh yeah, and then I forgot about this zoom one. This zoom one works. Click and hold that. And move your mouse. Click and hold that and just move your mouse, and you'll notice it will zoom in and out for you. I'm going to go ahead and hit 1 and get into my orthographic view. I'm going to click and hold on that magnifying glass, and I can bring that in, and then I can click and hold and move my Suzanne so she's in the center so that I can zoom her in even closer. So these 2 tools are working so nice for me to quickly get to where I want to be. Okay, so now I want to just kind of explain orthographic mode to you, okay? So orthographic mode is like very geometric, okay? It doesn't show perspective. Let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate Suzanne. I'm going to hit work. Let's try it again. Oh, it's Shift D, sorry. Shift D, and then I will grab that and move that. and I'm going to send it back in space. So I'm going to go ahead and hit, what would that be? The y-axis, GY, to move it back in space. So let's see. I can't tell if it's moving forward or back or not. So let's go like this. Oh, it moved forward. Okay, so I'm going to move it back in space a little bit, and I'm going to slide it over here and go back into front view. Okay. When I'm in orthographic mode, notice that both the Suzanne heads are the exact same size. Okay. But when I click my middle mouse button and move, you'll notice that the other Suzanne is actually further back in the distance. So she should look smaller. Let's move her back even further. Okay. So she's pretty far back now. All right, let me just grab, I'm going to try this new zoom feature. Grab that and zoom it in a little bit. Ah, look at what's happening. I am in user perspective. Okay, so perspective mode shows me depth, right? I can see that Suzanne is back in the distance because she's smaller, right? Objects that are closer to the viewer are larger. Now, hit 1. I'm in orthographic mode. All it's doing is showing me that I have 2 objects in my scene, and it's showing them in the same plane, okay? So, just click and drag, and you'll all of a sudden pop right back into perspective mode. Let's hit the Control 1 button, okay? So we're Control 1, we're in orthographic mode, and we're seeing that we've got 2 monkeys, but now if I click, wait, I'm looking at the back of the head, I'm gonna have to zoom to see that other monkey. There she is. There she is. And now look, now I'm closer to the monkey that was in the background, and now the one that was in the foreground is in the background because I've switched views. Okay, so there is another shortcut, okay? A shortcut that is going to allow you to change from orthographic to perspective mode. And let me show you what that is real quick. I just want to get into a position where you can see the difference. Okay, so we're in perspective mode. I want to go into orthographic mode. I'm going to hit 5. Boom. I'm in orthographic mode. Okay, so can I pan? Yep, I can use my panning tool. But remember, as soon as I click my middle mouse button, nope, actually it's keeping me in orthographic mode even though I'm using my middle mouse button. Perfect. Now if I hit 5 again, it's going to take me into perspective again. So you can toggle back and forth between perspective and orthographic mode. So I know that you're aware that there is a camera, okay? And you can go into camera view, I believe by hitting the 0. Hit 0. Aha! This is what your camera is seeing. So I'm going to click and drag. Oh, okay. So I'm going to teach you how to change what your camera sees. And that is with this little command down here. Okay. Control plus Alt plus 0. That's going to set the user view as the camera. So watch this. Control Alt 0. Don't forget that, okay? So I'm just going to hit 0 again to get rid of the camera view, right? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit 5 so that I'm in perspective view. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get my scene just the way I want my camera to capture it, okay? So let's say that I have zoomed in where I want to be. I've panned exactly where I want to be. It is looking just the way I want it to look when I capture it on camera. So this is what I want my camera to see. I'm gonna go Ctrl Alt 0 view that I want it to have. Of course, I do want my camera view to include that in the background. So that tells me that I'm going to need to notice if I move this, it's moving everything, my camera and everything. So that's not helping. I've got to hit 0 and get out of my camera. And this time I'm gonna pan over just a little bit. And let me tell you, learning how to use the camera is probably one of the hardest parts of, manipulating the 3D space, is getting what you want in your camera view. And I'm really having a hard time with this panning feature. So I'm gonna have to go into orthographic mode so I can actually get this to show up the way I want it to. All right, so I'm hoping that this will capture everything. Gonna hit Ctrl Alt 0 and boom, got it. Okay, so if I move out of this, you'll notice now I can scroll back and you can see how my camera is set up. Now, I could have sat there and grabbed a hold of this and used these arrows and like tried to arrow around all day long and hit 0 and see what I was getting and go, oh, that's not quite right. I need to go down a little bit more. 0, oh, it's getting there. But for me, I have always found that just getting that scene right where I want it and hitting Ctrl Alt 0 is really the key to using that camera. So why is it important to have your camera set up properly? Well, it's important to have your camera set up properly because when you actually go to render, which is kind of like publishing your image, like I'm gonna go ahead and hit render right here, and you can see there's a shortcut. It's function or F12. Do you have an F12 on your keyboard up there? You hold down function and hit the F12. I don't even want to look at you, keyboard manager. So I'm just going to go to render and hit render image. So what it's doing right now is it's showing me what that scene looks like when I publish it. Okay, so it's published. There it is. Wow, that's not exactly what I was picturing in my head. As you can see, the light is set up in such a way that it's hitting the back of Suzanne's head on this one. It's lighting this one up okay. So let's take a look at the lighting. I'm just going to close up that screen. It's kind of like it took a shot, you know. So let's go ahead and hit 0 and get out of that camera mode and take a look at where is that light set up. Ah, I see where the light is set up. This is the light right here. Okay. And it doesn't want to be selected right now. There, now it's selected. Yeah, see the way it's shining right down onto the top and back of Suzanne. And yes, it is giving some light to Suzanne's face back here, but she is so far away that the light source isn't powerful enough to really light it up, okay? So you can move your lighting around. That's an easy fix, right? And you can change the type of lighting that you use. You don't want your light to be right in front of your camera. I believe it'll actually take a picture of your light, but we could find out. You can add lighting. So let's go add, and where do you want it? I can move my cursor someplace, or it's gonna just come right in the center, and then I can move it wherever I want it if my cursor's right here. This button right here. This button right here, that allows me to come over here and click a different spot and put my cursor where I want it. Oh, and that is definitely too far away from this face back here. This is where I want it. So I'm going to add a light right there. Okay? That's why I'm putting the cursor there. So when I go add and I say light, I'm going to put a spotlight. Okay, so this is a spotlight, and you'll notice that this one's looking a little bit different. I'm going to hit R, and that's going to rotate my spotlight. And I probably am going to need to grab it and move it a little bit so that oh, look, I can see that spotlight. Hit R again. There. Let's get that little white dot so that it's pointing right at Suzanne's face. Boom. Spotlight. Boom. Going right on Suzanne. All right, let's add a plane. Okay, I'm going to, I'll go ahead and hit that Shift S and put my cursor to world origin again. Okay, because when I add the mesh plane for the ground, I want to hit S scale and just drag my cursor and scale and get this huge floor. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and grab this transform tool. I want to move it down a little bit underneath because I'm going to show you what it looks like to cast a shadow with that lamp that we just added. Okay, let's go ahead and get the view where we want it. So let's say I want to capture this view right here with my camera. And I'm telling you right now that this light being right in front of my camera could be a problem. But let's see. I'm going to go ahead and hit Ctrl Alt 0. Okay. And let's see what happens when I go render image. There's what I captured. That is not how I thought it was going to look at all. So one thing you can do, my friends, is we talked about these buttons last time. You've got your solid view. You've got your material view. This is where you can see the colors. And you've also got a rendered view. So click into rendered view. And then you're going to be able to see what your camera, what your lighting is actually doing. So I'm going to click on that light. Do I like what that light is doing? Not particularly. I think I could move it a little and get a different lighting that accentuates some of her features. Okay, and that might be a little too far away. But yeah, that lighting is kind of just giving an all over kind of effect. I can change that light, I believe. Road, and maybe I'm going to click on this object data properties. Object data properties. I've got the light selected. Object data properties. I can change that to a sun. Look at the difference in that lighting. I can change that to a spot. And then of course that spotlight's not even, you know, going towards her face. So if I hit R, I can rotate it. And you might have to hit R again. So R is going to give me that mobility, and if I hit R again, it will give me a little more versatility. So I can shine it right on her face. I can have it so that it's just hitting part of her face, kind of like the moon would do. All right, if it was blocked by something. Another planet, right? Perfect. So there's that spotlight doing a really good job. And I'm going to grab this other light back here, and I'm going to change that one. That one is a spotlight. I'm going to change it to an area light. Let's look at what an area light does. Okay. There's a little bit of light there. Not too much. Okay. So that area light's not doing too much. Let's turn it back to a point light. You know what? Let's turn the power up. Let's turn the power up. Look at that. Let's add some wattage to it and see if that makes a difference. How high can I go? I don't know. 12 watts. Can I go up to like 40 watts? Ah, there we go. Specular. What does that do? Let's change that to 5. So that looks like that increased the width. The shape of it, square, rectangle, disc, ellipse. So there's a lot of different things that you can change about your lighting to get different effects. Okay, so play around with that and have fun with it. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and grab, if I hold down that light and I hold down Shift, can I get Suzanne and the light? Yes, I can. And I can hit G and Y, and I'm just going to move these guys forward. Okay, So I've got both of them in my view. And I'm going to hit, I want that floor in there. I'm going to hit my Ctrl Alt 0, and there's my camera view. Maybe I want to change that a little bit. I'm going to pan up. There we go. I'll hit my Ctrl Alt 0. Whoops. Get my camera view in there. Let's try render and see what happens. Render image. Okay, so it's not doing a great job of showing me like the shadows and highlights on the floor. And I'm thinking that part of the reason why I'm not seeing those shadows is just because my floor is so far below the Suzanne. So I'm gonna hit G and Y, not GY, sorry. I'm gonna hit G and Z and move this floor up. Okay, so let's see. Let's do it again. G, Z, can I go up? Oh, look how fun. All right, so now I can see those shadows. Let's hit Ctrl Alt 0. Let's go ahead and render and see how that looks. Okay, so I'm definitely getting a better view of the way the shadows will hit the floor. And what happens if I put a wall behind it? Okay, so I'm just going to grab this and move it this way a little bit. And what happens if I give my rectangle some color? So I'm going to give my floor some color. I've got it selected. I can tell that I do. And so I'm going to go down to this beach ball, the material properties, and I'm going to add a material. I'll call this ground. I have to double click here, or just single click actually would. I keep thinking I have to double click, but I don't. I'm going to go ground, and I'm going to pick a color for it. So let me just, what color do I want to do? Maybe something like that. Okay. So there's the ground color, and let me go ahead then and grab my first Suzanne, and I'm going to add a Suzanne 1 color. So I'll make that purple, fun color, and then I'll grab my second one and I'll add a new Suzanne 2 color, and that one will be maybe a bluer color. Okay. All right, so now that I have some color applied to it, notice when you're in render view, you are going to be able to see the color as well. Look what happens when we are just in material view. We lose all of that awesome shading, the lighting effect, okay? So these are the different views. Here's solid, rendered, no, sorry, material, and rendered, okay? So fun times. And that will give you a better idea of what things are gonna look like when you render them. Okay, so let's add a wall behind. So my cursor is in the center of the world, and if it's not, remember it's Shift S, cursor to world origin. Okay, I'm going to click off of that because I don't need any of those. I'm already set up. I'm going to add another mesh plane, okay, and I want to rotate it. So I'm going to grab these little this arrow over here to the right. I'm going to grab that and slide it out here, and I've got rotation. So I'm thinking in my head, I need to rotate that around this red axis, the X axis, so that it flips up. So I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees. So type in 90 and hit enter, and boom. Now I can hit S and drag and scale it. Okay. And I can also hit G and Y because I want to move it back behind that monkey along the Y axis. Perfect. That wall, let's see how far away that is. Ooh, it's pretty far away. So I'm going to go ahead and hit G, Y, and I'm going to move it closer. There. Why? Because I want to see those shadows hitting the wall. That's a pretty cool effect we've got going on there. So we can see that maybe if I move that spotlight a little bit closer, so I'm going to hit G and Y, and I'm going to move it so that it's just a bit closer, and I can hit, yeah, I can move it all over the place. but I'm going to hit G and just kind of grab it and move it a little bit just to get some different shadow effects that are fun. Okay, I'm going to hit G and Z and move it down, and I'm going to hit R and R again, and I'm going to rotate that so that spotlight comes up. There, I'm starting to feel like I've got a pretty good vibe going on here. I'm going to hit 1 so I'm in orthographic mode, because I'm going to also slide this back. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to grab this panning tool. I'm going to pan a little bit here, and then I'll go ahead and middle mouse click to get back. And I'm going to hit, whoops, the Ctrl Alt 0. Take my picture. Let's hit render. Bam. Hey! How's that for a rendered scene? I've got multiple lights, therefore I have several shadows popping up. I can see the definition of their faces. I've got a really cool scene. I've got a wall in the background. I don't have any color on that wall. What if I added some color to that wall? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit 0 to get out of camera mode. And I'll just, let's see here. Gotta get in, make sure I'm in select mode. I am, select. I'm gonna select that wall, that plane, and I'm gonna add a color to it by going to the materials, click new, and click and type wall. What color should the wall be? Okay, so all right, I got that. I'm gonna go ahead, zoom in once again. Now I've got some color on my wall too. Perfect. Ctrl Alt 0, get my camera where I want it, render image. Let's see what it looks like now that I've got some color on my wall. Bam! Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, so guys, start to incorporate your lighting and your camera work into your scene. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy. This program is like being in the cockpit of an airplane, all right? But you're gonna get it, and it's gonna start to become intuitive, but you've got to practice, practice, practice.